Sunnah of Ibrahim. That what is these adahi, what are these qurbani, these slaughtering of animals on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, 10th, 11th, or 12th? He said, this is the way, the tradition of your father Ibrahim alayhi salam. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was of the children of Ismail, the Ishmaelites, and all the other Banu Israel, the other prophets were the Israelites from Israel, Yaqub alayhi salam, and Banu Israel, children of Israel, all the way to Ishaq and Ibrahim alayhi salam. So he said, this is your father, Ibrahim alayhi salam, that was his tradition. مَا لَنَا فِيهَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. What is in it for us? SubhanAllah, it didn't say that how much is going to cost and all that. What reward do we get when we do Qurbani? The Prophet ﷺ said that for every hair of the animal, you get a reward. And they said, okay, maybe this may be too much to ask, but let's ask. What about the lamb? A sheep has a lot of fur. He said, what about the fur on a lamb? It's a lot more than a goat, because that's hair, and fur is a lot more. He said, even suf, for every hair of that fur is a reward for you. And when we slaughter, the blood, before it even drops the gum, it is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning that the blood and the flesh and the meat and the bones of the animal do not go to Allah. It's what the taqwa. And that's why the Hajj, وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ زَادِ التَّقْوَى. Even for Hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to take provisions, and that provision is taqwa, the inward readiness to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs. Now let's talk a little bit about the rulings. According to like the Shafi'i and others, it is sunnah and it's not mandatory. It's sunnah from a legal perspective, how important it is in that scale. It's sunnah, meaning that it's not wajib or fard. In the Hanafi school, it is wajib, necessary, because the Prophet ﷺ did it every year, and he also emphasized that. And there's another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever doesn't slaughter, he should not come to our Eid. Right? So there's a wa'id for it. There's a warning. So that's why the Hanafi, we take it as wajib, necessary. And then the second difference of opinion is about the household. 4 people in a household, does everybody have to do it, or just one person? All agree that that person who is required, who's not required to pay zakat, but is not eligible to receive zakat. Not required to pay zakat, but also not eligible to receive zakat. That's the middleman. That's an average, what will you call it? Blue collar person who just gets by, everything even, no savings, nothing, but he has what he needs. He can put food on the table, so on and so forth. That person is required to do Qurbani, do udhiyah. Now, the difference, it comes in, does every household, like if both the couple working wife and husband, they both have to then do a Qurbani, or does one Qurbani suffice the entire family? So the Shafi'iyya go with that one Qurbani is sufficient for the entire family, and the Hanafiya, everybody is responsible for their own. If you are sane, if you are Muslim, if you are mature, and you have the means. Those are the main conditions. So nobody, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. One person does not take the responsibility of others. And the leniency is because they don't require Qurbani. So every individual who's baligh, mature, and has enough savings, or has enough, owns enough things at home or elsewhere, that person that would not be eligible to receive zakat, and that person is also not a traveler. So that would be the 5th condition, not a traveler. So a traveler does not have to do Qurbani. Not required to. Can, but not required to. So those are the main conditions. So if 4 people are working people in the house and they have the means, 4 of them have to do their own Qurbani. Now, which animals? Sheep, lamb, goat, cow, and camel. These are the main categories where you will do a qurbani. The smaller ones, you do one per person, and for a cow or a camel, 7 shares in one animal. The only condition is that everyone that takes part in a cow or a camel have to have the intention of qurbani or aqiqah. So if, let's say, if I want to just chip in because I just like that meat of that particular cow that I saw, then nobody's qurbani will be accepted, because there's one that, what they say, one bad fish is enough to what is it? Bad fish is sufficient to ruin the pond, whatever that. So everybody has to have the intention of qurbani or aqiqah. So if someone has a do aqiqah of their child and wants to do it, they can combine that with their qurbani. The animal has to be sound, because you want to give the best to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the end of the hadith that I mentioned in the beginning, he said, فَطِيبُوا بِهَا نَفْسَهُ. Do it with an open heart, with happiness, with joy. And you want to give the best to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because what we are giving to Allah, and Allah gives back to us, and we are the guest of Allah on these 4 days. Eid al-Adha and Ayyam al-Tashriq, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. To the extent that it is not permissible, it's sinful to fast. So tomorrow, inshallah, it's the sunnah to fast. Inshallah, we'll fast. But those 4 days, you cannot fast. Not permissible to fast on 5 days, the 2 Eids and the 3 days after Eid al-Adha. So we're the guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah asks us, do a qurbani for me. Here you go. You are my guest. And we eat from that qurbani meat. So when we want to present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the best. وَمَن يُعَظِّمْ, in the discussion of udhiyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَن يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ, whoever has an awe and a ta'zeem of these are the symbolic things that are that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided us, of His oneness, of His being, the sha'air of Allah. فَإِنَّا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ ta'zeem. That's why we tell the Hujjaj that when you even pick up the pebble from Muzdalifah, you take those pebbles, you wash them, you clean them, make sure they're not filthy. Because sometimes they're laying on the ground, the person just came out of the bathroom and is walking over with the same shoes. So it becomes najis technically. So you want to clean that, because you are doing one of the sha'air of the Hajj, your pebble, that stoning of the jamarat. The devil is not there. The devil is within us. So when we do a qurbani, we want to slaughter our devil that is inside us, inshallah. So we do it for the sake of Allah. It has to be sound. It has to be, it is able to walk, even if it's a little sick or it got hurt on the way. Sometimes when they are transferring from one state to another, it's a long haul, and some of them, they get injured. But if they're able to stand on their own, on their 4 feet, and they're able to walk even a few steps, it's sufficient. It cannot be blind. It cannot be missing a limb, like an ear, like it's missing an ear. And if it has horns, the horns can be broken, it's fine, as long as it's not broken from the roots, like both of them are broken. So that's kind of a naqis. It's an incomplete animal. So you want to give a complete animal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those are the few things that you want to keep an eye if you're doing your own qurbani. If you're doing elsewhere, one question that is always asked, that what if the qurbani is done the next day? Would it be okay to shave and trim? I mentioned this before, that is not necessary to observe. These are the sunan. These are things that is recommended and we should observe them. But if someone is unable to, that's totally fine. It's not a sin to trim or clip your nails in these days. So if someone wants to have their qurbani on the next day, here or elsewhere, then you want to delay that until your qurbani is done. So that's connected with your qurbani, inshallah.
If you're giving it to an organization that is doing multiple qurbanis, a trusted organization, when do you know yours? Like, can you assume the first one is yours? You have to wait for the confirmation of some sort to say we just slaughtered?
Yeah, as long as they can give you some kind of confirmation. If they can give you that, if they cannot identify, cannot give you a confirmation, because a lot of times they would not be able to, then you can just go ahead and trim. Assume that you are done, as long as they have done a few.
Yeah.
If they have done a few, inshallah, you can continue. That becomes a big question for the Hujjaj,
Right.
whether to do it before or after.
So what was the ruling for the Eid Salah? You're doing for the let's say in India, Pakistan.
Very good question. So the ruling is that the Qurbani has to be done after Salat al-Eid, right? After Salat al-Eid, meaning that after you have done your Salat al-Eid, you can have it done. But there's an exception. If you're not doing your Qurbani in town and you're not doing it yourself, and it's done somewhere else, then that can be done after the Fajr time enters in their area. So let's say if Pakistan is one day after us, they would.
They're one day ahead of us.
No, they're one day behind.
Pakistan.
Yeah, they're one day behind, right?
Pakistan is behind. Some may be ahead, but it's fine. Other Middle Eastern countries may be.
One day ahead?
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh, the timing. No, I'm talking about the day. The day. They're one day ahead. So they might be doing the second day. So let's say if it's the same day, they will go according to their time where it's happening. So let's say in Pakistan, after Fajr Salat, they can do it, even if it was the same day. So technically, it will be before our Fajr time.
I'm sure there is time. There is no time.
It doesn't? I couldn't find it, so I thought maybe it's fresh eyes on it. Like, any other questions? Sorry.
Index like 3 times.
MashaAllah. Reading an index of a book, it's like half of the book. Trust me, if you don't have time and you saw a book and you have like 2 minutes, just read the whole index. You will get the summary of the book. MashaAllah.
The question of giving out the meat, the sadaqah.
Very good question. So giving out the meat, you can keep the whole meat to yourself. You can eat the whole lamb. You can give the whole thing away to the poor. You can. The recommended sunnah is 1/3 for yourself, 1/3 for your friends and family, and 1/3 for the poor people. Now, if this question came up that if there's a Qurbani done, like for example, they're distributing the meat a week later, is that okay? Yes, of course. You can give the meat a year from now.